You've been making money for a while. You've been leading people for a while. You've been doing great things for a while. Can you hop in the time machine? Let's go back to 18-year-old Greg. What does life look like for you? What's going on in your world?
Dude, it's a mess. I graduated from Valley Forge Military Academy and went from being told what to do nearly every moment of the day to being told nobody even cares if you show up to class. Good luck. Yeah. And so I was sort of floundering, coming from a high discipline environment to a sort of no holds barred, do whatever you want environment of college. And I went through these sort of chapters of school. I did the super senior thing for 5 years. And I sort of went from thinking I wanted to be a music educator, which is what I initially studied, to wanting to apply my background in psychology and philosophy, which is what I wound up focusing on in the latter part of my time there. For me, college was very much a social experiment and less of the type of experience that one, I imagine, would have if they went and studied economics and then went on to get their MBA, or studied sort of, criminal justice and then went on to get a JD or something like that. I get to apply all that background in psychology and philosophy now, but when I graduated with sort of this mixed degree in music, philosophy, psychology, I was like, who wants me? And the answer was like crickets, like nobody. You had no transferable skills. And so I wound up taking a job selling Cutco knives, which taught me all these skills of how to start a conversation, how to get an appointment, how to build trust, how to overcome objections, how to negotiate effectively. And then from that, I sort of graduated into this world of professional sales, but with a dirty little secret, something that I never told anybody. And the way I describe that professional career now is that I was the highest paid, least famous actor you've ever heard of. Because for almost 15 years, I acted like I cared about what I was doing for these companies. I acted like a sales professional. I acted like a sales manager when I had responsibility for territory that was basically half the size of the United States. Several reps underneath me, several assistants helping them. I didn't care. I was there for the income, not the impact. And so I hit a point in my career where I was no longer happy with the money I was making, because you get used to that real fast. And I'm a privileged person to even be able to say that. But you make six figures, you get up there, all of a sudden nobody cares because you've been doing it forever, right? It's like if I give you a cupcake every morning, you don't care eventually about the cupcake and you want 2 cupcakes. Well, it's sort of like that with, income instead of impact. Yeah. So would have kept on trucking along for years. But in 2015, I got told by doctors that I had beat up my voice so much, through all the speaking and all the sales work and the yelling at sales conferences. It gets loud in those conference and convention rooms. And when you don't have the microphone like we do now as keynote speakers, you got to talk and project really loud. And so that beat up my voice so badly, the doctor said, if you don't have surgery to deal with the damage that's been done to your voice, in about 2 months, you'll lose your voice completely. Now, for a sales guy, that's bad enough. But there was a second part of my life that I was living. By day, I was this successful salesman who put on a suit and sold products and helped companies. By night, I was a dueling piano bar player. I got to perform professionally at bars all over the world, Vegas, Paris, on 5 continents at this point now, many countries, many states. And so not only was I using my voice all day, but at night I was singing. I was singing in smoky bars, loud bars, all sorts of places. And so when the doctor said, you're going to lose your ability to speak, it wasn't just my daytime income. It was what fulfilled me at night. It was the impact that I got to make. That's what I really cared about. When I saw people walk in the piano bar, unhappy, sad, maybe bored, looking for a good time. And at the end of the night, they're high-fiving, going, oh my God, that was great. I can't believe he sang Billy Joel like Britney Spears. That was so crazy. And that's what fulfilled me. So not being able to make the income or the impact kind of left me stranded, trying to figure out who I was and what my purpose was here. And that's when I found the world of public speaking. I found an opportunity to use all the parts of who I was: the musician, the salesman, the psychologist, the philosopher, the helper, the teacher. All of these parts of me now get to be fused into the work that I do with companies, at conferences, with leaders, helping them make more impact and lead highly fulfilled lives.
In organizations, we have places and spaces, or we go to conferences or have trainers and presenters and people come in to walk us through when our organization goes through a difficult time. But what about when it's a personal scenario? What about when the disruption, and kind of break that down, frame that out for us? With you, the surgery, what did you learn about yourself, and what were some ways that you had to rethink and reframe you in order to survive that disruption? And then how did that experience become a catalyst for some of the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, it's summed up in a statement, or rather a question: why am I here?
Yeah.
I think when we all look in the mirror each morning, I wish that on everyone's mirror I could put in big black block letters, why am I here? And then to carry that further at the front door of every company, right before you could walk through, you know, to get to your desk or whatever it is that you do each day, a sign that says, why am I here? That's atop a mirror. So you have to look in the mirror and answer the question, why am I here? Because for the longest time when I got out of school, with all of the sales work that I did, I was there for the income, not for the impact. And when that was taken away from me, I didn't know who I was anymore. And so I had to re-answer and find new ways to get at that question, why am I here? Because you do something long enough, repeatedly, over and over again, it becomes who you are. And so the vocal damage was this very effective way of separating who I was pretending to be and made space for who I was. It gave me a timeout, if you will, to develop who I was. And what excites me about what we've just gone through is that the whole world, in some ways, it doesn't feel like it, but I promise you, if you're watching this, you got a timeout. Whether you took advantage of it or not, everybody's experience has been different, but this was a timeout. And I'm talking with and seeing so many people and so many leaders of organizations who are saying, you know, I don't know that that's who I really was. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you think about some of the conversations you've been having with organizations, and realizing, wait, now, because of this disruption, because of this change, because of this uncomfortable kind of season of life for the organization, or even personally, now there's a bit more receptivity to doing things differently. Because before, you said we could never have the meeting unless everyone is in the same room at the same time, or we could never plan it like this, or we could never pivot or bring in some of these other elements. What is it about disruption, having our sense of normalcy displaced, that in some cases, because other people kind of just double down on what they've already been doing, but some people, that makes some individuals, some organizations open to the creative possibilities that are out there?
I mean, it's the loss aversion. I mean, it triggers this. It's in psychology, the concept is called approach avoidance. But really, it's a great question, Pierre. What it triggers is this loss avoidance. We are hardwired to minimize loss, not to maximize gain. You would think that they're sort of like opposites, that they're sort of friends, you know, like yin and yang. But we will always do more to minimize loss than we'll ever do to maximize gain. That's why so many people never achieve their full potential. They're so worried. Most people go to work each day so they don't lose their job, not so they can do more with their job. Most political leaders are more interested in not losing office than going in and doing as much as they can with the power they currently have. Because sometimes leaders are meant to die. And I'm not trying to take this religious, but you know, would Jesus Christ's story be so interesting if he hadn't died?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you think of religion, sometimes leaders have to sacrifice themselves to get what needs to be done. So how does that relate to us? Well, for a lot of us, this was the perfect unintended, not my fault sacrifice. Maybe this COVID killed your career, but maybe you didn't love it anyway. Maybe COVID killed the company that you were leading, but maybe you were done with it anyway. But it would have looked pretty bad if you went and told your friends, these circle of influence that we've built up around ourselves. And I know because I did this. I'm not judging. I went through this. It's scary to tell people, hey, that guy that I thought I was, you know what? It turns out I'm not. Because now that changes everything. It changes all of the people around us, how they relate to us in space. So now their loss avoidance is triggered and they act different. It's this cascade of consequences. When we decide to kill who we were to become something better. But when it's done for us, now it's a get out of jail free opportunity card. And that's what so many companies are seizing. This opportunity, like, hey, it wasn't us, it was COVID. But while we're here, while I got your attention, here's what we're going to be doing.
You know, I've seen pictures of you on social media, and okay, folks, if you're hanging out with us on Courageous Conversations Live, and I'm talking with Greg Offner about disruption and creativity. If you have not seen him live, when like the blue lights are on, and it's like, you know, dark in the room, and he's got the 2 cameras, different angles on his piano. It's like a thing. Just trust me. It's a thing. You want to check it out. How do you wrestle with, because this happens to us. We see this scenario, we make the pivot or curve, we look at a new reality, but then part of what we just came out of or still wrestling with weighs on us a little bit. So for you, how do you wrestle with, but what if there's a problem with my voice again? Or what if there's a scare again? And how do you not, because I've kind of seen you in full form online, just doing your thing, rocking out. How do you wrestle with the fear of, man, something else could go wrong, but still saying, but I still want to give this what I have, the opportunity before me as a person, as a group, as a company. We still want to give it everything we got.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Well, that's a phenomenal question, and I'm trying to process it as I answer.
Yeah.
You know, part of it is the philosophy of Stoicism. There's a concept, it's not mine and I forget whose it is, but the word is memento mori, which means remember, like I believe the way it translates is remember, we're already dead. And we're getting like super deep into philosophy, but the moment you're born, and this is a song lyric, I forget who's, the moment we're born, we start dying. So you might as well have it's a Cake lyric. Sheep go to heaven, goats go somewhere else. So it's the moment we're born, we start dying. So you might as well have a good time. That's the lyric. Well, I believe the moment we're born, you start dying. So you might as well give it a try. So I talk about this concept in my work called, the gas factor. Right? There's a component of the 7 keys of success. D stands for drive. Right? You want to drive your car, you better have gas. That's the fuel that makes it go. Well, gas, in terms of our own personal fuel, if we're being polite, we say give it a shot. Right? If you're not being polite, it says give us something else. But that gas factor is so important to my life. And if I worry about what's going to happen to my voice, if I don't ever try because of what I might lose, I'll never get to use this gift fully.
Yeah.
And I came out of college laboring under the delusion that if I were meant to be a professional musician, somebody would discover me. There are so many leaders that I see in companies that are laboring under the delusion that they can't lead until somebody taps them on the shoulder and goes, poof, you're a VP. You become a leader because you're leading. You become a professional, a famous musician because you're playing. I never put myself out there and gave myself the chance. And, there isn't a market for 40-year-old balding musicians generally right now. So I'm not going to say I missed my shot, but I found a better place to make an impact.
Yeah.
And if I don't try now, when am I going to do it? Because I'm already dying. So I do, it weighs heavy on me. Sometimes I get a little looser than I would have liked to with friends, over cocktails on a Friday night, and my voice is hoarse the next day. These are all things that can contribute to me developing the type of vocal issues that could sideline me for months or require another surgery. And I'm human.
Yeah.
I spent the better part of a decade undergoing surgeries, 15 surgeries total to rebuild my voice, to rebuild my stomach. I've had more time in voice therapy than most people could ever imagine. I spent over 2 months in total silence. And you would think that all that would be enough to say, all right, you idiot, don't have that extra cocktail and yell. But sometimes I'm a human and I make a mistake or I'm having a good time. I try to meter that with the impact that I want to make. And I try not to make those same, mistakes twice. But there's nothing I can do. That was the wrestling that had to happen with my vocal surgery initially. That initial, there was crying, depression, thoughts of suicide.
Yeah.
Around the second or third surgery, because they cut into you, you heal up, your voice recovers a little bit, and then they go, let's do it all over again. And we're talking months go by in this process. So this is about 1.5 years in, And I'm going, oh my God, like when's my life ever going to be the same? It's not. People wonder when we're going back to normal after COVID. We're not. There is no going back. There's only forward. You're born, you die. This isn't Super Mario. You can't go back a little bit and get that extra power up. You've got to move forward. So what happens isn't good or bad. What happens is just what happens. What you do with it is what's important. The impact that makes on you. I impacted lives, I'm sure, as a salesperson. I tried to do well by my customers. If I made quota or not, I didn't really care. I was making good money. I was there for the income, not the impact.
Yeah.
But I know that the impact I make now is far more reaching and far more significant, and that fills me up. That fulfills me. So when I talk about creating leaders that are highly fulfilled, it starts with impact. Why are you here?
So you got to tell me a story, Greg.
Okay.
You got to give me a story give me an impact story. You did a session, you did education, edutainment, entertainment. You did one of those experiences and you got an email or a phone call or a client recorded a video, something that happened and your response was, yep, this is why I do what I do. Yeah. Tell us one of those stories.
I've got so many. The one that jumps to my mind is someone that I work with as a coaching client who's high up officer in the armed services. And he was referred to me by his commanding officer. And this is a bit tangential to the work that I do with Leaders in Impact. I also, since COVID started and I'm presenting virtually, I help leaders with their executive presence, their presentation skills. Mm-hmm. And this was a leader who would have been passed over for promotion and thus managed out of the military. That's sort of how it works. They have this up or out hierarchy. You either get promoted or that's it. Because his ability to get in front of his troops and impact them with his words was waning. He sort of would drone on. He would forget the point. He would be repetitive. He would not really emphasize why something was happening. He wasn't communicating with authority. He got promoted. He got reassigned, which he wanted to go to Japan. I think I can say, yeah. He got reassigned to go to Japan. And just the email that I got from him gushing about how excited he was over this opportunity. That is just one story of the emails, the LinkedIn messages that I get, from leaders and organizations who are excited. And sometimes I get and I don't try for this, but sometimes I get the email that is like, hey man, I saw a lot of myself in your story. I've been acting. And yesterday I gave my 2 weeks notice. I don't want that to happen. Certainly it's tough for a company to hire talent and it's a tough decision to leave an organization for any employee, but any leader that is, I think, an ethical leader will say, if you don't want to be here, go with God. I want you to be happy. You make the company better by leaving. We'll miss you, but now somebody can take your place that's more interested in the impact than the income.
If we have a leader who's wrestling now with, man, I'm listening to Greg, I want to go to his website. I want to click on his LinkedIn profile. I want to send him a message on Instagram, but I don't know if my company, I don't know if our business, I don't know if, what we do would even be a good fit for what Greg offers. Can you speak to the types of clients you're particularly, in particular, you're looking to work with, and what's the best way for them to reach out to you and some of the work that you can do together?
Yeah. So thanks for asking that. Coaching is a case by case. It really is, because coaching takes a lot out of you. And if I'm honest, and I'm probably shoot myself in the foot by saying this, if your story's boring or if I'm not interested in what you're doing, I'm just going to say no, because there's somebody out there that can help you make a bigger impact. It's not about the income. It's about the impact. Yeah. I helped a woman the other day that is entry level, couldn't afford my services, just said, you know what? I'm passionate about what you're trying to do. I like your story. Let's work together. I work with C-level executives at companies that have thousands of employees. My wheelhouse industries, whether it's speaking, coaching, consulting, the workshops that I offer, anybody in financial services or anybody for whom sales is a large part of their organization. Because that's my background, right? I mean, I spent time in sales. I'm good at it. I'm not interested in doing it anymore, being a salesperson for a company, but I get what those people go through. It's an important job. It's a tough job. It's a job where if you're not looking in the mirror and answering the question, why am I here each morning, you're probably selling yourself and your employer short. So I want to help organizations address that issue. And leaders at any level, I'd love to do some work with like manufacturing. I haven't done much yet. My work has predominantly been with banking, insurance, healthcare, financial services of any sort, and the odd actually food service company. Because I think leaders in all industries. So the problem that I see, that I solve right now, that I see, is that the performance agreement, this unspoken agreement, Rousseau called it a social contract when he was talking about government, but if we want to talk about work, it's a performance agreement. It's broken. It's been broken for years, and we're all walking around pretending it's not broken. What is it? The king's invisible clothes? Yeah. We know it's broken. Employers aren't making their people better, and employees aren't working to make the company better. The employees are going in every day for the paycheck, and the employers are looking at the profit, and that's it. They want maximum return from minimum wage. And that's fine, but the way you get it is by making your people better, not making them better employees, not with hard, non-transferable, very technical job-specific skills. Like if I work at McDonald's, don't teach me how to flip a burger faster. Teach me how to understand mortgages. Teach me how to be a better interpersonal communicator. You don't have to raise my wage if you do that, because you make me more valuable. Mm-hmm. And if I stay, I'm more valuable to you. And if I leave, all of a sudden people start hiring employees from McDonald's and go, man, these guys are well trained. That word gets out too. Now people want to work at McDonald's because McDonald's is a great company. But you take any company, if you're interested as an organization in becoming better, then make your people better. Don't ask for better employees. Make better people. It's cheaper and it's better long term. And then the employees got that same obligation that they owe their employer. You've got to go in every day and make an impact. If you're upset about your income, I guarantee you if we take a look at your impact, it's not as great as it could be.